Right on the phone with me right now, Tuomas Rounakari from
Yes,
Korpiklaani.
there you go. Good pronunciation.
Excellent. Tuomas, great to talk to you.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's been a busy morning with all the interviews, but glad to be here.
Excellent. It's good to have you. Right, now the band's 10th album is just about to come out. We'll get to that in a moment. But if you can just take us back to when you first joined the band, can you recall the turn of events that led to you joining?
Well, maybe you know that I have a solo project called Shaman Violin, which is based on the shamanic or ritualistic songs of the indigenous people over the Arctic areas. And Jonne had been a fan of my work for quite some time without myself knowing it. And when they were doing the Manala album, they were pretty desperate with the violin situation because Hittavainen had left the band and they didn't have a replacement. They couldn't find a good enough replacement. So Jonne actually calls me and asks me to join in to do the Manala album within a couple of weeks. So I actually met these guys for the first time in a studio in 2012 while we were doing the Manala album, and Jonne had so much trust on me right away, and he was saying that if I want to, I can rearrange all the songs as I wish. And I'm still a bit blown away by that amount of trust that he had without ever meeting me in person. But somehow he had felt a strong connection or some kind of a brotherhood through music from what I had done. And that's how it's all started.
What a great story.
Yeah. And you know what's funny with it is also that it wasn't self-evident for Jonne to call me, that he was actually hesitating a lot to call me because he respected me so much.
Wow.
And that's so funny how this life goes, that all of us feel small sometimes for really ridiculous reasons.
Yeah.
But it happens to the best of us.
Yeah. Okay, so you jumped in on that album, been given the opportunity to rearrange things as you see fit.
Yeah.
That album came out. How did that one go?
Well, I think Manala is still one of the strongest albums from Korpiklaani because it really ties into the underworld themes and it's quite a dark album, but it has a lot of drive to it, and I personally I think it was like the songs in the Manala album are very strong.
Yeah.
And then from there we go to the Noita album, and there's another change there because Sami, our accordion player, joined the band in between the Manala and Noita album. So it was the first album for Sami. And that actually made a big change to Korpiklaani because we call ourselves the folk department, the violin and accordion of the Korpiklaani. So we sort of like we started interfering or taking part with the arrangements and arranging process.
Yeah.
More and more, and that's something that Jonne was really wanting us to do from the beginning. And at the end, in the Noita album, we felt that we finally found the balance between folk and metal that Jonne had been looking after for all these years.
Yeah.
And so I think now with the Kulkija album, there are a lot of similarities to the Noita album.
Yeah.
But the style of the album is a one step further again, so that So the balance between folk and metal is more or less the same, but now we're actually playing in a more folky way with the folk instruments than before. And also, we had a new producer for this album,
Yeah.
and it worked out wonderfully. Something really magical happened there at the studio, and the album is full of first takes and second takes, especially from Jonne's vocals and on my playing, and a lot of the things that under the verses I'm playing some lines. Accompanying Jonne singing. Those are all improvised things on the spot.
Wow. Okay.
So somehow we had this effortless energy at the studio that we just went creative and had fun, and the result is really organic and authentic.
Mm.
And also I think that with this album we've finally we have the uplifting energy that we have on our live shows is somehow more present in this album than any of the other ones.
Yeah. I read a quote from you saying for the first time you had the chance to play such a wide range of emotions on a metal album. Can you elaborate on what you meant by that?
Well, this album is so funny in that way that Jonne said that he didn't think of anything, not the label, nor us, the bandmates, nor the fans, or he wasn't worried about what other people will think at all. That he was just bashing through, and some of those ideas in those demos are so surprising and unique. There's one song, it's Kuin korpi nukkuva, and that sort of like begins with the haunting intro, then goes to a quite straight rock and roll verses and chorus, but at the end, Jonne, Sami, and myself, we play a little bit of tango at the end, just without the drums and guitars, and really with like an Argentinian tango feel to it.
Yeah. Okay.
So there are small bits and pieces here and there. They are most surprising. Yeah. And so those widen the scope of emotions a lot.
Yeah.
But also there are some songs like Tuttu on tie, for example, which is really like a basic folk song that I play in a folk song style, not altering or trying to make the melody sound anything different than a folk song.
Yeah.
And then in Kallonmalja there's 2 violin solos in that it's almost 10 minutes long. There's 2 violin solos, and I call them the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde solos. Because the other one is kind of clean and melodic, and then the other one is just destroying the violin.
Yeah. Now, Kulkija means wanderer, am I correct?
Yeah.
Now, am I also correct in saying that lyrically the songs deal with the life and experiences of that wanderer?
Yeah. That's not like, we didn't plan it that way, but while in a studio, when we had most of the tracks ready, we realized that, wait a second, like either we have a wanderer that appears in the lyrics, or what the song is all about could be seen as something from the wanderer's eyes.
Yeah, okay. Was it based on or influenced by anyone in particular, or it's just the way it turned out?
Well, it's the way it turned out, but I think like we've been traveling quite extensively. We have about 150 travel days per year now. And so I think, it's really not that a far-fetched idea, but of course this is a bit romanticized version, like our wanderer is placed on the Finnish landscape and in the Finnish countryside and little bit on those I don't want to say in past times, but we have those layers in our society that you feel that this is not quite the present day.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's sort of the landscape where this album spends most of its time.
Should we call it other times, not past times, just other times?
Yeah, other times. I like that.
Yeah, okay. Feel free to use that.
Yeah.
Now, because myself, along with a few others, don't speak the language it's sung in, I was fascinated by the press release that I got that detailed the stories of the songs on the album. Now, in particular, track number 6, Korpiklaani. Is that how I pronounce it?
Korpiklaani, yeah, Korpiklaani.
Okay,
yeah.
The Raven's Rock. The story behind that's just amazing. Well, the story that I've got anyway about the black raven living at the tree, and old and wise sings songs at the top of the tall tree telling who has died at the foot.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
Yeah, well, there's this mythical background. We take a lot of inspiration from the Finnish mythology. And raven is one of those most peculiar birds in our mythology. Raven is a bringer of messages and a bird of the underworld. So it's a wise animal, and its presence sort of brings awareness to something always, and it's also seen quite often as a death. Bringer of death messages, but it's a very multi-layered bird in our mythology. Like, it has a lot of meanings to it. But like, even in this album, that we have songs we have more songs than ever before that are about presence in a road or events that could happen anywhere. We haven't forgotten the mythology, and Korpiklaani is one of those songs where the myth, an idea comes from a myth, and it's just like one version of those, one more story about the raven.
Fascinating stories, all of them. How long did this take to record? It's a long album. It's a 1 hour 11 according to my records here. It's a long story to tell. How long did you have to lock yourselves away to? You said it was all mainly 1 and 2 takes, so that must have helped.
Yeah, well, we didn't plan to release all of the songs, but that's just what happened. That all of the demos, like. This album has all of the demos that we had for the album. Like, usually you have 14, 15 songs and you end up releasing 9 or 10.
Yeah.
But this time, we just felt that all of them are meaningful, that all of these songs belong to this album.
Yeah.
And we actually even had a little debate with our label, because they wanted to have some of the songs as bonus tracks, because in some markets, they always want to have an album plus bonus tracks, but we were like, no, there's no bonuses. This is a full cake. You got to understand it as a one piece, and but it did take quite a bit of time, but the thing is that if it would have been difficult or a task to do all of those 14 songs, we probably wouldn't done it. So there was this magic happened, sort of that things were a little effortless, and it just came out really well.
Yeah, well, that works for me. Okay, Tuomas, we've got a new album, Kulkija, coming out on Nuclear Blast on September the 7th. It's been great chatting with you today, and we wish you all the very best with the album.
Thank you. My pleasure.